Hello, my name is John Bannon. I'm an attorney and philosopher. In today's video, I'm going to explain how superdeterminism destroys Thomas Hobbes. So this video is about what they failed to teach you in college philosophy class about the philosophy of Thomas Hobbes. When I talk about superdeterminism, I'm referring to a very specific, unique version of superdeterminism called Hansonian superdeterminism. It's based on a proof by Swedish theoretical physicist Dr. Johan Hansen, which you can find in the peer-reviewed physics journal Physics Essays, Volume 33, Number 2, June of 2020. It's on page 216 to 218. It is entitled Bell's Theorem and Its Tests, Proof that Nature is Superdeterministic, Not Random. Hansonian superdeterminism says we live in a static block universe without cause and effect in physics or physical causation or probabilistic causation. Hansonian superdeterminism is different than classic superdeterminism, first posited by Dr. John Bell in 1985, because classic superdeterminism uses hidden causal variables. Hansonian superdeterminism disproves causation, so it can't use hidden causal variables. Rather, it says that we live in 3 dimensions of space and 1 hidden dimension of time in this 4th-dimensional block universe, and all the particles in the universe through the static dimension of time are like pebbles set in concrete. You can't move them, you can't change them. They're permanent, all because there's no cause and effect in physics. They do create patterns through the dimension of time, which we describe as our laws of physics. So our experience of reality really is this 4th-dimensional static block universe of particle organization. Now, I've listed 5 points of the philosophy of Thomas Hobbes on the board, and I'm going to go through each point and explain to you how superdeterminism disproves it. So, number 5, Thomas Hobbes believed that the best way to live is to seek self-preservation and peace. Under Hansonian superdeterminism, however, the meaning of life cannot be a potential, such as self preservation or living in peace. And the reason for that is every person in the block universe has a block life. All the events of their life, from their birth to their death, still exist in the block and are permanent. They're just in different locations within the static dimension of time. So, uh, this block life, every living thing has it, and it contains the total events of one's life. So, to claim that the meaning of or the universal meaning of life is some sort of potential that doesn't appear in somebody's block life is meaningless to them because there's no way it could ever appear in their block life. And therefore, it could never be the meaning of their block life. The only universal meaning of life under Hansonian superdeterminism is the block life itself. So it's the predetermined block life's role that it plays in the predetermined static block universe, predetermined and planned by God, who atemporally created the static block universe. So potentials cannot be universal meanings of life. They can't be the best way to live. Um, so this this idea that the best way to live is to seek self-preservation and peace is false. It's not universally true for all people. Some people have block lives in which they don't have self-preservation or peace. Specifically, babies can be born without their cerebrums, and so they have block lives because they're alive, but they have no conscious experience. So without conscious experience, there's no way you could have a desire for self-preservation or peace. Number four, life is a perpetual and restless desire for power. Hansonian superdeterminism says power is not actually real in the static block universe because cause and effect in physics is not real. Without cause and effect in physics, there is nothing anyone can ever do that can change the predetermined future. All the events in the static block universe are equally real, whether they're in the past, present, or future. And you cannot change them without cause and effect in physics. So all future events already exist presently in the static block universe, and there's nothing you can do that can change that. So you are powerless in the static block universe. Your belief that you have power has to be an illusion because you don't have any power without cause and effect in physics. So the idea that life is all about power is patently false because power isn't real for anything within the universe. Number three, truth is a property of language rather than a quality found in reality itself. So Thomas Hobbes' idea here is that truth is whatever we say it is. Whatever our language declares as truth is truth as far as we're concerned. So truth is a function of the language that defines it as true. There's no objective truth. There's just our language describing something as true or false. Under Hansonian superdeterminism, however, this is totally false. And the reason is because language itself, as well as the thoughts associated with language, are physical realities that are aspects of the physical predetermined static block universe. In order to understand this, I'm going to use this example. Imagine you consciously decide to move your arm. Now, your arm movement is undeniably a physical thing or a physical reality, which means your arm movement has to be predetermined and existing in the future dimension of time. But if your arm movement already exists in the future dimension of time and is predetermined to happen, then your conscious decision to move your arm must also be predetermined in order for your arm movement to be predetermined. So your conscious thoughts have to be a predetermined aspect of the static block universe. Now, your thoughts and the language that comes from your thoughts exist in the same location as physical brain particles. So it must be the predetermined physical brain particle aspect of the block universe that is responsible for the predetermined conscious thoughts and language that you use. Now, it's a mystery as to how an immaterial experience like consciousness could be a physical reality. But regardless, it has to be predetermined under Hansonian superdeterminism. If I were to guess about that, I would say, well, the universe can be described by logical mathematical laws of physics. That is telling us that the universe is logic. It is a form of logic. Now, if this logic can have the reality of our universe, this physical reality, then if the brain particles are organized in a way that brings about a different form of logic, then that logic can also have its own reality. In fact, it would have to in order to exist. And that reality is what we experience as consciousness. So, this other form of reality I call the logic of the possible, but it is created by the organization of brain particles through the static dimension of time. So, because our thoughts and the language we use are physical realities and predetermined aspects of the static block universe, then they can exhibit objective truth. They exhibit whatever the static block universe has them exhibit. So they're a derivative of the block universe itself. So there's no reason why they can't exhibit objective truths about the block universe or about the reasons the block universe exists. Number two, there is no objective good, so people define their own good. However, under Hansonian superdeterminism, because the universe and everything that ever happens in it is already predetermined and it's set in stone and you can't change it without cause and effect in physics, then Christianity is the predetermined predominant world religion by number of members throughout human history. From that predominance, you can reasonably infer that God intended Christianity to be his objectively true message to humanity. And Christianity contains ideals of good. So the idea that there is no objective good is false because you can reasonably infer that the ideals of Christian good are objective goods because they were predetermined by God to be the predominant moral teaching to humanity. And number one, the church must be subordinate to the sovereign civil authority. However, under Hansonian superdeterminism, you can reasonably infer that Christianity is true because God predetermined it to be the predominant world religion. And Christianity teaches that it is not subordinate to civil authority. In fact, Jesus himself said that you have no other master besides him. And you can find that at Matthew 23, verses 8 to 10. So, under Christianity, number one is clearly not true. And Christianity is the predetermined predominant world religion. And there is no predominant civil authority that God has decided on to be the case. So clearly, the church is not subordinate to any civil sovereign or authority. Okay, I hope you learned something, and I'll give you a second to read the board. All right, until next time, take care.